Hello, welcome to the Willie Bragg Show today. I hope each and every one of you are doing well. Before I get started, I'm going to give you my little song and dance of what you need to do if you're a newcomer here, and that is to hit that like button, a comment at the end of the video, and hit that subscribe button. Follow me on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, all will be well. So, now, let's go ahead and get to the subject at hand. With this war that's going on right now in the Ukraine, it's been very disconcerting to see a lot of people who used to be noted to be anti-war in the past. We're talking about a lot of people who are nominally left-leaning that have a reputation of being anti-war, all of a sudden have become rattle sabers, sounding like Bush-Cheney neocons, except they're a little more they're woke this time, as opposed to evangelicals or NRA members from 20 years ago, listening to Rush Limbaugh. This time, these people are, they're instead of Rush Limbaugh is MSNBC. But the point I'm trying to make is that there's been a kind of a weird things going on with the ideologies, because some people on the right are sounding anti-war. Now, I'm going to tell you that when I hear some people on the right sounding anti-war, you hear some people say, well, it seems like they turn over a new leaf. And I think what's happened is there's a lot of contrarianism, no matter who's in power. If one side's in power and one team does something, everybody follows the leader, and then the other side would tend to oppose it. I'll give you an example. In 20 years ago, with the Yugoslavian conflict, over 20 years ago, rather, back in the late 90s, when between 1990 and 1999, when the war was going on in the former Yugoslavia, the civil war in the Balkans, it was a lot of liberals in the West that were advocating humanitarian interventionism. And then when Fox News was young, they were advocating non-interventionism. And it almost sounded like they were kind of re-embracing isolationism until 9/11 happened. And then all of a sudden they were rattle sabling again. And then a lot of these liberals, many, not all, because some of them went along with Bush and Cheney at first too. A lot of them were kind of on the anti-war side. And then eventually, as the war went on, the Bush-Cheney war continued. It turned out to be a failure. And you saw a lot of libertarians, which I think the libertarians are going to be consistent, spoiler alert, and you saw some paleocons jumping on board. And then people have been fatigued with the war that Bush-Cheney caused, that Obama continued, that Trump claimed he was going to do something about, and kind of continue in some ways. He slowed it down a bit, and Biden did the right thing pulling out of Afghanistan, but he did some fucked up things to Afghanistan in his withdrawal, and then it's not certainly helping to go and try to get ourselves into harm's way with the potential World War III, what's going on between Russia and the Ukraine. But you're starting to hear people on the right starting to sound like peace activists during the Bush-Cheney years, protesting against Bush-Cheney. And some of them were like lockstep behind Bush and Cheney when it came to the war effort back then. So, as I said, I think it's all motivated by partisanship. But this doesn't apply to everybody that's on that quote unquote right, because Rand Paul, for all of his faults on economics and maybe some social issues here and there, at the very heart at the end of the day, he tends to take a libertarian foreign policy stance, and he tends to be anti-interventionist, which is okay. That's the Rand Paul. That's okay. I hate it when he talks about healthcare, because his version of healthcare reform, or his version of labor law reform, or doing anything for poor people or the middle class or whatever, his economic stances stink. So I have nothing in common with Rand Paul when it comes to economics. When it comes to trying to put a stop to selling arms to Saudi Arabia, to put a stop to genocide against the people of Yemen, I am with Rand Paul all the way. His father is even a better man in that regard. When it comes to foreign policy, the economics stinks. I have nothing in common with Ron Paul or Rand Paul on economics. I despise economic libertarianism, the economics of libertarianism. Ugh. But on the foreign policy and on some overlapping social issues, libertarians are kind of okay in that regard. You have to kind of take it with a grain of salt when you deal with libertarians. But then there are people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who sits there and pretends to be against the war by voting against the $40 billion foreign aid to military aid to Ukraine. Well, thing about Marjorie Taylor Greene is, I really believe it's because Biden is the president. That's what it comes down to. If her Lord and Savior Donald Trump, or her future Lord and Savior, if that ever happens, Ron DeSantis, become president, and the momentum of that president is to put ground troops or more military aid into Ukraine, Marjorie Taylor would be like, "We got to support our president, and she don't support our president. You are a traitor and should be put in jail." That's what I think would happen with someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, because at the end of the day, the bitch is a partisan hack. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So anyway, now Thomas Massie is a congressman from Kentucky. I forgot which district he's from, but he's one of the louder voices for Julian Assange in Congress. Whenever Tulsi Gabbard is in a decent mindset, she is pro Julian Assange. She was when she was in Congress, and I think that Ilhan Omar Ilhan Omar is also supportive of Julian Assange. So there you have it. So when it comes to Julian Assange, those are the three you can kind of depend on. Now, Thomas Massie is a Republican member of Congress, and he is genuinely anti-war, anti-interventionist, and as far as Republicans are concerned on foreign policy in Congress, he's probably as decent as they come. So I'm going to go and play you a little bit excerpt of an interview of when the Russian-Ukraine situation started happening earlier this year, and this is Max Blumenthal from the Gray Zone interviewing Thomas Massie. Hold on a second here. Let me get it, and I'll share a few words afterwards. Hold on one moment here. Okay, and let's get that full video footage ready. Okay, and let's get started right now. And we'll put it on a speed for time constraints. Okay, all right. Okay, let's get started.
Representative Thomas Massie, a libertarian from Kentucky, was one of just 3 members of Congress to vote against a resolution declaring that the U.S. stands fervently behind the Ukrainian people. For his lone stance, Massie was quickly branded a friend to Russia and subjected to a wave of attacks. On March 8th, with Congress set to vote on a massive package of weapons to Ukraine and NATO, I asked Massie about his vote and his stand against the drive for military escalation. Representative Thomas Massie, you've been coming under attack for your pretty much lone vote, along with 2 others, on the resolution supporting Ukraine. What was the motive behind your vote?
Well, first of all, I support the right of the Ukrainian people to determine their destiny, to have a sovereign country free from invasion. But this bill, I feel like, was counter to the purposes of supporting the people of Ukraine. First of all, the bill calls for basically overthrowing the government of Belarus. I mean, why should that be in a resolution supporting the Ukrainian people? Why should we expand this conflict to Belarus? Yes, it's true that Russia's come through Belarus, but did they have much say in it? And so that shouldn't have been in the resolution. But probably the most troubling part of this resolution was it called for open-ended military assistance. It didn't say only equipment. It didn't say that there wouldn't be a no-fly zone. I mean, because people who are calling for a no-fly zone voted for that resolution, I have to assume that resolution would support such a thing the way that it was worded, or even boots on the ground, which we should never have there.
No-fly zone would be a recipe for conventional war.
Well, a no-fly zone would mean American pilots shooting down Russian pilots in jets. And the next step, I mean, there aren't many escalations above that, but certainly it leads to, and if it weren't an American plane, it would be a NATO plane. And now that country would be the target of Russia, presumably, probably a missile launch that would drag 20 other countries into the conflict, expanding this globally. This is not a global conflict at the time, and we should do everything we can to keep it localized and not become a global crisis.
Something like 73% of Americans support a no-fly zone. I don't think they understand what it means, the implications, but what is your sense inside that building? Are we edging closer to a conventional conflict with nuclear armed power in Russia?
Well, I hope we're not edging closer, but there's a vote to send more money to Ukraine and to our NATO allies, in fact, to finance troops in Eastern Europe. 2 things can't simultaneously be true. If the news reports that are coming back would lead you to believe that Russia's getting crushed, they're being devastated by Ukraine and Ukraine alone. It can't be a fact that Russia's a paper tiger and they're being destroyed by the Ukrainian army and National Guard. And at the same time, we need to send billions of dollars more in weapons and troops to NATO to subsidize the defense of socialist countries. I mean, that should be polled. The American people, we should ask the American people, do you think with $30 trillion of debt that you should be funding the defense of socialist countries in Europe?
You mean like subsidizing the social democracy of Germany or the Western European countries? But the Eastern European countries certainly are not socialist. I mean, this seems to be a geopolitical play. And, the arms industry obviously is benefiting. How do the American people benefit from this when gas prices are going up in light of the Russian oil ban? How does the American working class benefit?
Well, there's 2 kinds of sanctions. There's those that are meaningless. For instance, Netflix on their own has decided to cancel subscription. It's in Russia.
Might be a good thing. I don't know.
It might be good for the Russians, but in all honesty, it was their glimpse into the Western world. and how capitalism works and how we live. And so the shutting that off, they probably shut it off because the credit cards were shut off and they probably weren't getting any money. So there's the virtue signaling kind of sanctions that Biden and some private companies have undertaken. And then there are the crippling sanctions. Okay, but who are they crippling? They're not crippling Putin per se. He'll find a market for his oil. They're crippling the people here in this country. First of all, we're going to see higher prices. The low-income people are being pinched the most by inflation. We've got gasoline is about to go to $5 a gallon at the pump, and it's not going to stop there. So, and there are lots of other things we bring from Russia, like fertilizer over $1 billion. Try not putting $1 billion of fertilizer on the fields in America this year and see what that does to food prices and supply chain issues. So if you think all of these things through, there's two kinds of sanctions. The sanctions that would cripple Russia, but it would cripple us as well. It's kind of mutually assured sanctions, economic devastation.
Well, actually, what's happened with the sanctions against Russia has actually benefited the Russians and actually harmed us, and actually at the same time it's enriched the oil companies here in the United States, and it's actually fucked over the people in Europe with the high oil prices. So the Europeans are actually the ones suffering the most from this, because because in my opinion, I sound like I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think that I think that Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton's got an axe to grind. He wants to hide this little Hunter Biden story, and Hillary Clinton really believes that Donald Trump was put in the White House by Vladimir Putin. And so that's what it comes down to. And yeah, I really do believe that. It's sort of the same way George W. Bush became president. He had a score to settle with Saddam Hussein. He was trying to find an excuse, and that's what it comes down to. A lot of these folks, they come in there, they have scores to settle with people, and in our modern age, and that's what it comes down to. So I do consider, as far as the quote unquote right, Thomas Massie to be a good cop, as somebody to work with. But somebody I would never ever want to work with would be Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I think she's probably the most disingenuous individual you can imagine. And somebody who has said that she will lock up her political opponents, and she's made that quote in the past. Well, while I am no longer really a fan of the Young Turks, and I'm not these days, Ring of Fire is affiliated with them, so I'm sorry I have to go and play this. It's really relevant, but Farron Cousins talks about, this is from when she became a member of Congress, and it relates to the Iran treaty Obama, the U.S. and Iran agreed to, and her reaction and just her reaction in general. But that part makes it very relevant as to why you can't work with someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene. So I'll go play you that really quick insert, and I'll go share some more thoughts. Hold on here a second. All right, come on. All right, there we go.
Freshman Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Congresswoman who is a firm believer in the conspiracies that start with the letter of the alphabet. She fully into that crap. But according to a report from CNN this week, she is also, over the last 2 years, through her social media accounts, Facebook and Twitter, been calling for the death of Democratic leaders in Washington, D.C. I'm going to read this straight off CNN's K-File. In one post from January 2019, Greene liked a comment that said, quote, "A bullet to the head would be quicker," end quote, to remove House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. In other posts, Greene liked comments about executing FBI agents who, in her eyes, were part of the deep state working against Trump. In one Facebook post from April 2018, Greene wrote conspiratorially about the Iran deal, one of former President Barack Obama's signature foreign policy achievement. A commenter asked Greene, "Now do we get to hang them?" Meaning H and O, Hillary and Obama. And Greene replied, "Stage is being set. Players are being put in place. We must be patient. This must be done perfectly, or liberal judges would let them off." So this woman, who is now a sitting member of Congress, elected by some of the stupidest human beings on the planet, sorry, but if you voted for this woman, there's nothing up there. And I'm not going to make apologies for saying that about you individuals. This woman is disgusting. This woman is a creep. And this woman wants people dead for two reasons. One, they're not in the same political party as her. Two, because she's freaking delusional. That's not even the worst of the stuff here, folks. There's a whole big report on all the stuff that has come out of her Twitter and Facebook page over the last couple years. And her excuse for all of this? Oh, well, I've had different people running my Facebook pages and my Twitter account. Yeah, who knows? Who knows who it could have been? Really? You had people working for you, running your social media accounts back when you were a nobody? Huh. Yes, that's totally a thing that happens. My neighbor posts a lot of crazy conspiracy stuff on Facebook. Maybe I should check with him and see if it's one of his staffers. Oh, wait, no, because normal non-elected officials don't have people running their social media, you psycho. Folks, this woman needs to be removed from Congress for so very many reasons. And she needs to have a full-on psychological evaluation because there's something wrong with her. Her actions, her words, going all the way back, as we've seen here, from 2018, so 3 years now, this woman has presented a case history of mental illness. But rather than getting her help, rather than removing her from polite society so she doesn't hurt somebody, which she has called for doing, instead of doing any of that, Georgia voters said, yup, up to Congress with you. I don't know. I'm sorry if that offends anyone. Actually, you know what? I'm not. I'm really not. You gave us this. If it weren't for those voters who did that, I wouldn't have to talk about her. I wouldn't have to waste my time talking about a sitting member of Congress who over the past 3 years was calling for the execution of other members of Congress. I'm sorry, but that's not the kind of human being we should be sending to be a representative. That's the kind of person we should be sending to prison.
And I at the very least, she should have been kicked out of Congress 2 years ago from the very get-go with her role in January 6th from the get-go. I have no interest in working with someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Thomas Massie, I'm open-minded about. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I can never be open-minded about, and that's what it comes down to. So I think he's sincere. I don't think she's sincere. That's kind of my point at the end of the day about what is called anti-war right. It doesn't mean that you have to join the right. It just means building bridges where you agree and disagree. So that's what it comes down to. So anyway, Snipe Hunter says, hi, hey, how are you doing? And Anthony Malecki, hey, how are you doing? Pretty good. Dirtbag Leftist says, Tulsi is anti-war. She's on the right. It's hard to say with Tulsi Gabbard these days. Yeah, I mean, she runs hot and cold. Somebody told me the other day she's considering joining the Greens. Well, I'll be surprised. But, pleasantly surprised if that's the case. I doubt it, though. Let's see. Yeah, you're right about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the pits. She looked like she swallows pits. Let's see here. Hey, KRTD Media. How are you doing? I think you're right. Excuse me. I think there are right-wing voters who are anti-war. And I do. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't. I definitely think Thomas Massie is someone I can respect, and that's where I stand. I was able to respect Justin Amash and John McCain to a certain degree. Justin Amash, I would agree with Justin Amash, and he's called for getting rid of the Patriot Act, and I read his tweets on Twitter, and I generally like what he has to say. And but John McCain, not so much. I mean, John McCain talks about staying in Iraq and Afghanistan for 100 years. I mean, the only difference between him and someone like a John Bolton is that he may have a likable personality, which was not picked up by his daughter Annie. So let's see. Didn't agree with John McCain on foreign policy, though. Yeah, as I said, probably on a personal level, he might have been okay, but on foreign policy, yeah, very much rubber stamped the Bush-Cheney agenda. Could never ever want to be a part of that. I did agree with John McCain about Glass-Steagall. Everybody forgets he partnered with Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren, by the way, everybody, just in case y'all forget, Elizabeth Warren is a snake that's a senator from Massachusetts to try to get a vote on reinstating Glass-Steagall. It went nowhere, but he was right that we needed it. And yeah, and a stop clock does give the right time twice a day. And it, we're going to have another housing bubble crisis because of this. Them not reinstating it. Let's see here. You don't have to agree with the right on every issue, but if they want to come to our side to work together on issues where we agree, it's fine. And I've always said that. I mean, areas, when I was protesting against the Iraq war, almost every other weekend, 15 and 20 years ago, it started with libertarians, and I started seeing some Republican types out there, and it was kind of cool. They were telling me they had it with George W. Bush, and they felt like George W. Bush did them wrong. So it was like I can't argue with that. Let's see. Even if I'm upset with someone who has claimed to be on our side, like Warren, I'm pissed with her. But if she wants to bring up a bill I agree with, I am for trying to pass it. No, I mean, she's more correct than not correct. It's just I can't, even though I'm no longer really like woohoo Bernie. What she did to Bernie Sanders in Massachusetts is just an unforgivable act, and so I can support her supporting good bills, but I could not support her in a presidential run. I just can never do that. Let's see. I'm done with trying to work with the right. They can fuck off. For the most part, a lot of them can. As I said, but whenever a clock gets the right time twice a day, I'm all for it. It's just that Marjorie Taylor Greene would never give the right time twice a day. Let's see, whether we agree with someone on a few issues or whether we are pissed at someone, as we always need to recognize when they are on our side, support them in their fights where we can agree, but hold them. Yeah, I would agree. Let's see here. Hold them accountable. Yeah, and I knew that was going to be said. Let's see here. Scrolling down more. Let's see. We will never get anywhere if we can't come together. You work in a vacuum and see how far you can get. And I know that firsthand experience working, working in the past. I won't mention any specific name of any organization because I'm on good terms with the people in this organization now. But it was. At one time, they were trying to do everything they could to try to isolate themselves, and it was just pointless for me to be a member of that group. And so, it was like, well, it was time for me to part ways back then. So, but all water under the bridge at this point. Let's see. Some of the sanctions also hurt ordinary people in Russia instead of the oligarchs. And sanctions hurt. Wherever sanctions are imposed, there's always innocent people involved, and that's where things gets kind of dicey. Warren says, "Hey, extra bulla. Oh, hey Warren. Hey Willie, come on by after you get done. We'll save a seat for you. Oh, I'm planning to watch the show this evening. Oh, you can count on it." Let's see here. Hillary Clinton doesn't believe that at her core, she knows. Well, Hillary Clinton. Wow, I just wish Hillary Clinton go away. That's what I wish she'll do. Let's see, Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy, how are you? I'm looking forward to co-hosting What with you on Tuesday. By the way, I don't work with politicians. Period. They work for us. Time to fucking listen to get out of the way. Agree. Absolutely agree. And likewise, I'm looking forward to watching The Secret Show tonight. So see you and Warren in a little while. Let's see. KRTD Media says, don't love the Young Turks, but if they or one of their affiliates say something correct, they do deserve credit. If they break a story, they deserve credit. Fair is fair. And I could watch TYT and agree with the content. I'm just really mad at them for the way how they treated Jimmy Dore. And even though Kyle Kalinske, that I still resent them for their shitty treatment of Kyle Kalinske too, because I mean, I'm just kind of like, I mean, even though he's corrupted by Crystal, he's still better than the Young Turks. So, I mean, Shank and Anna, I mean, they have gone so far downhill, but they're capable of putting up a good story every now and then. And as far as affiliates, Ring of Fire, I watch occasionally. I do like Farron Cousins for the most part. He's a little dry, but he's to the point. Let's see. If Kyle Kalinske says something right, credit. If Jimmy Dore says something right, credit. Shank says something right, credit. If Sabby says something right, credit. I absolutely would agree 100% with that statement. Let's see. Fair is fair. Again, yeah, and I like to see myself as a very fair person. And I would be inclined to agree. Let's see. Hey, Willie, you and I should talk at some point. I think we have a lot to discuss. Been watching you for a bit now. I'll tell you what. I'll leave you my phone number in a message on Twitter later on when I'm editing this video when I get off sign off this evening. So probably in about an hour I'll give you my phone number and everything. So there you have it. Let's see. Oh yeah, Anthony. Yeah, he knows what I'm talking about with the snake reference. Let's see. Snipe Hunter says, I love Tim Dillon's impression of Meghan McCain. Every time Meghan McCain puts up something on Twitter, I'll try to play that video. I haven't done it in a while, but I was doing it almost every morning, playing that video of him dressed up as Meghan McCain. Because I want Meghan McCain to see that video. She blocked Tim Dillon, by the way. Let's see. Elizabeth Warren should have never been a senator. She should have been head of the CFPB. Yeah, she just turned out to be a disappointment. I mean, she really did. I hope that John Fetterman does not turn out to be another Elizabeth Warren. That's my fear. But I'm going to be open-minded about Fetterman until after he's sworn in, until he fucks up the first time. So we'll see. Let's see. My father. Yeah, that's all Meghan McCain knows how to say. Let's see. They really did fuck Kyle hard. Yes, they did. And I still feel sorry for him in that regard. That was terrible what they did to him. Let's see. I do like Crystal sometimes. Depends. Yeah, I think that what the problem with Crystal Ball is she's a bit of a normie Democrat, and that's my only issue of contention with her. And he's more independent. Kyle is, but I think that Kyle's been kind of influenced by Crystal in that regard. So that's why he's sounding more like a normie Democrat than he's been sounding like. The ideology is still there. And there's nothing to really ideologically. I agree with him ideologically. I just don't agree with the Democrats as the end all of all end all of all end all, and that's the problem I have with Crystal and now Kyle combined. So and the ideology is fine. It's just I can't deal with the other aspects. Yeah, let's see. Fetterman supports Israeli apartheid, and that's true, but that would be like just about anybody in Congress, because everybody's scared to be called a fucking anti-Semite. That's what it comes down to. But I think that day is coming to an end, because I think there's a lot of people that just had it with the smear of anti-Semitism. I mean, because honestly, you're not, when you call Israel an apartheid state, you're not saying every Israeli is that way. You're saying that the fucked up policies amounts to what happened in South Africa. You're not saying it's a Jewish thing either. You're just saying this is a government policy against the people, a Palestinian people, and it is fucked up what they're doing against the Palestinian people. And I remember a Kahanist told me once that I should be wrapped in barbed wire. Why? Because I said something nice about a political party called Meretz, which is a social democratic party in Israel that's pro-Palestinian, and they told me I should be wrapped in barbed wire. So go figure. Let's see. Meghan McCain is right about nothing. That's right. Nor does she know anything. Her father was right about a few issues, even the issues he didn't know. He at least was somewhat educated. Yeah, I despise Meghan McCain. I have nothing nice to say about her. Let's see. Also, like Chagar sometimes depend. Agreed. Let's see. I do think that we need to. I do think we need that part of the left, the Crystal and Kyle type, to get somewhere on Medicare for all. The left is a circular firing squad. We need some kind of unity. I think that there's a circular firing squad on both sides, because let me tell y'all, when it comes to the presidential contest on the Republican side, y'all think you saw something with the Democrats primaries 2 years ago. You're going to see some right-wing on right-wing violence going on between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. And I am so looking forward to the verbal violence that they're going to commit on each other. I'm just going to look forward to that. I'm just going to look forward to the insults and everything. And I'm going to look forward to the disunity. I'm going to look forward to seeing MAGA versus MAGA strangling each other. And I mean that figuratively. So I don't want the YouTube algorithms to take my words and interpret it as violence and shut me down the way that Twitter shut down Garland Nixon. Okay, I had to go and make that claim. So I don't want to go and be shut down for having my words misinterpreted. Hashtag some kind of unity. The left says not to make things personal and keep things about policy, but we always make things personal. And that's politics. I think politics across the spectrum people do tend to take things personally. And it's kind of messed up. So, but anyway, I'm going to go and I'm going to shut down right now because I got some things to do. I got to get ready for the secret show. I got Christmas decorations I need to also set up at my place. So there's that as well, and I need to go and edit this. Do my editing work for this video. So I will say that if you all like what you heard. Oh, and my little announcement on Tuesday, I'm going to be co-hosting What with Jimmy Sunderland. So I'm looking forward to that. And at midnight, be sure to watch the Secret Show with Warren and Jimmy. Let's see. We love you, Willie. Likewise, Warren. Let's see. Stop talking about the secret show. It's a secret. Shh. Oh, yeah, that's right. All right. So if y'all like what you heard, press like and comment. And if you disagree with what I have to say, comment anyway. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As the First Amendment as the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Subscribe to my channel on here on YouTube, Twitch. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. And always reject corporate media, because they have nothing to offer. Always get a second opinion, get 33 opinions, get 444 opinions. You do what you have to do to get the information you need. And until next time, we'll see you all later. And I will conclude by saying to you all, music.